Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I thought I would start a bit of a series because I'm getting a few questions now about certain things relative to when you're starting out with photography, and particularly fashion photography obviously, and I felt like maybe I can answer some questions in regards to that. So I thought I'd do a bit of a series on just a few videos maybe of how I started out and what worked for me, what didn't work for me, and maybe just some tips on starting out in fashion photography in general, because it is really hard and pretty scary when you first start out, and it's hard to find people that are willing to kind of help sometimes as well with guidance as to, you know, where to start really. So I've actually got a list of things here, just some tips that I've written down that hopefully might help you guys a little bit. But this is just the first video in the series anyway, and it's really just going to explain how I started out and what I did in the beginning to help kind of grow my business and just to help develop my skills as well with photography. So then I'll probably move on to some other videos relating to different techniques and fashion photography in general, but for this video, this is just how I started out. So when I first started out with photography back when I was 15, 16, I think in 2007, I first got my SLR camera then, and I didn't always know I wanted to be a fashion photographer. At first, I actually wasn't really into fashion at all, and to be quite honest, I'm still not really obsessed with fashion in general, like brands and things like that. It's just not something that I'm super interested in, which might sound strange coming from someone who is doing fashion photography, but I'm more for the creative aspects of it. So yeah, in the start I didn't really find much interest in fashion, and it wasn't really something I was considering doing with my photography, and I didn't even know what sort of photographer I wanted to be in the beginning. I had found inspiration initially from going around the world with my parents and my family and going on a big world trip and, you know, seeing different countries and going to new places, and always kind of having a camera in my hand taking photos, I guess, sort of started it for me. But I didn't think travel photography was what I was going to do either, to be honest. In the beginning I just really focused on doing a lot of conceptual work because I was really interested in that, and I'm still interested in it, but I guess fashion's kind of taken over a little bit more for me now. But in the beginning that was what I did a lot of, and I did so many self-portraits, conceptual self-portraits. Like, if you go through my DeviantArt account, it's all there, and I look at them now and I kind of think, you know, I would never probably put those in my portfolio, but I guess back in the day that was how I was experimenting with photography, and it is a really great way to do it. You know, you're pretty much your own model, you can pretty much experiment whenever you want, you don't have to rely on anyone else, you can just, you know, take photos anytime you want. And I like to experiment with different makeup techniques, and I did pretty much anything you can think of. So that was what I started off doing, and it wasn't until I was kind of a little bit more confident with my techniques and my Photoshop skills that I decided to start photographing other people. So at first I only started photographing family and friends, and I am going to do a video on this a little bit more in depth with finding models and how I first started off with finding models. But yeah, in the beginning I just started off with family and friends because, you know, they were pretty much willing to help me, and, you know, I thought that was great, so I took advantage of that. And yeah, that was basically how I started, you know, experimenting with photography and developing my techniques. And I did that for years, quite a few years, because I was very shy when I was younger. I wasn't really in the headspace to go and immediately approach models and people that I didn't know to do modelling, because that was just something I was way too scared of doing. So I did stick to photographing family and friends a lot. So I did a lot of different things when I first started out to kind of try and find what sort of photographer I wanted to be. I did assist a wedding photographer for around 6-7 months, and I pretty much found out that I wasn't, after that time, I wasn't wanting to be a wedding photographer per se, although I still do weddings. My main passion is somewhere else, obviously, and I hadn't really found it still, so I was a little bit deflated after working for quite a few months and assisting another photographer on weddings and finding out that that wasn't really what I wanted to do, or aim for, essentially, in the long run. But the good thing about assisting another photographer is that I learnt different techniques, and that was to do with Photoshop techniques and learning the manual settings on my camera, because the photographer basically forced me when I was doing second shooting to use manual settings, which is a good thing because I think it's important to know how to use your camera and get the best out of it, or get the most out of it. So after assisting the photographer, I did, like any sort of job prospects, I guess, that came up. I was still not at that point where I was willing to really, you know, sell my photographs or to take jobs on, so I did a lot of things for free, a lot of shoots, and looking back now I probably did too many of them for free, but looking back now it really helped me with getting the experience that I needed and getting the portfolio photos that I wanted, and it did take a while, it took several years. So after sort of shooting family and friends, I moved on to shooting actual models and people within the industry, and that was pretty scary initially for me, so it did take a couple of years for me to really get comfortable with doing it, and I posted a lot of my work online initially. Definitely on DeviantArt was probably where I posted most of my work, and Flickr, I posted a lot on there too, and that really helped me with getting constructive criticism from an art community. So that helped me develop my work as well, because I think you do need constructive criticism when you're starting out. And it's hard to take it first, but as you kind of understand what people are saying and how you can possibly improve your work, it's definitely a good thing. So I really relied on DeviantArt for that a lot. I had a lot of people, you know, giving me constructive comments, and it helped. So I did shoot around my hometown a lot. I didn't really travel up much to Sydney in the beginning. I just sort of stuck to nearby areas where I could easily organise a shoot and easily get to, and basically just sort of formed a little contact list of models that I'd used a few times in shoots, and kept working with them, and makeup artists as well. And it's really good once you start to do that, because you get more comfortable with going on a shoot and photographing people. And I saved up for my equipment piece by piece. I mean, it's not easy. Photography is probably one of the most expensive hobbies or careers out there. So yeah, I did have to save quite a bit for my lenses that I wanted, and after about 4 years of having my first SLR camera, I did manage to upgrade to my newer camera. So it did take quite a few years to just get that money together, but as far as jobs and when I actually started to take jobs, it was probably about, I'd say, 3 to 4 years into doing photography, and I think at that point I felt more comfortable and I felt like I could do a good job. You know, if someone did approach me to do a shoot, then I felt I could do a good job. And another thing that I did was I looked at a lot of other photographers' work, and I was really inspired by a lot of photographers, particularly on DeviantArt, because there was just so many. I mean, at that time there was just so many photographers on there, and I think there still is, but it's probably not as big as what it was, you know, say 5-6 years ago, but I mean, and the works were amazing on there, and it was really inspiring to see what these photographers could come up with, and you know, it just made me want to do better with my work and made me want to push harder with getting better photos and coming up with cooler concepts and things like that. So I didn't move into fashion photography until I was probably around 18 maybe, and then I really decided that I wanted to be a fashion photographer, because I realised how versatile fashion photography is, and that you can basically do anything with it. There's really no rules. I liked the fact that you're able to create with fashion photography. You're able to come up with concepts and see them brought to life, and it's a really, really cool thing. And that's, in the end, that's why I decided to become a fashion photographer. I love the fact that you can do anything with the genre. Alright guys, well that's pretty much how I started out with photography. There's just a few points. I don't have too many tips for you right now, but in future videos they will be mostly about maybe how to go about things if you're starting out, and things that really worked for me when I was first starting out. So I will hopefully have a more detailed video on finding models soon. So I hope you guys might find that one helpful. But anyway, thank you so much guys for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.